What's going on, everyone? My name is Logan Armstrong, and today we're going to be doing a little Q&A. I finally hit 10,000 followers on Instagram, so I just want to thank everyone. If you follow me on YouTube and on Instagram, thank you for that. That's pretty crazy. Today we're going to be doing a little Q&A on a recent photo that I posted on Instagram. I told you guys to just ask me any questions that you had. So I'm going to go through. I got a bunch of questions. I got like 87 different comments. So I'm going to go through. Oh, and if you're wondering why I'm wearing this silly hat and this awesome shirt, I'm actually going to Hawaii.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is Hawaii.
Maui, Hawaii, at the end of the month. And so I figured in good festivities, might as well rock the new fit. Get excited for that. Stay tuned for all the cool photos and videos that are going to be coming from the Hawaii trip. We have some really, really cool stuff planned. I've been in contact with a few different companies and a few different brands out there. So we're going to have some really, really cool stuff lined up. And so the footage, the photos, everything's going to be amazing. So I can't wait to share that stuff with you guys and show you guys that. But anyway, let's hop right into the Q&A. I'm gonna pick out a few questions. Like I said, I didn't really plan any of this beforehand. So yeah, we're just gonna kind of wing it and see where this goes. In the meantime, let's roll that intro. I don't actually have an intro, but let's just roll some cool drone footage.
From the start, guess it could have been good. Now it's not.
Okay, so I hope you guys enjoyed that impromptu intro that I made. I haven't actually made it yet, so hopefully it turned out decent. Okay, so let's go ahead and scroll through some of these comments and see what good questions we have. And let's take a look here and see what we can answer for you guys. Okay, so at Noah Costello asks, how do you make your time lapses so vibrant? If he's probably referring to the time lapses in I do shoot a decent amount of time lapses, but mainly the ones I'm assuming he's referring to were the ones in my Cali film. And those were actually shot by Chase Devins, and I have now implemented kind of the similar practices that he has, and I've since learned how to shoot them and make them and create them more vibrant. And by doing so, my camera, the GH5, has a built-in intervalometer, which allows me to basically shoot time lapses in the camera. But instead of just taking that pre-composed 4K time lapse that the camera creates in itself, what I will actually do is I will take those raw images, take them into software called LR time lapse. And what that does, it allows me to basically edit a series of photos within the time lapse using Lightroom. And so I'm able to add radio filters, coloring, and just make the photos very vibrant and really just come to life in comparison to just shooting them in camera. And then LR time lapse will actually kind of compile those for you in a sequence, and then you just put them into your video editor and then create a time lapse out of that. So I hope that makes sense. If not, I'll link in the description below a tutorial kind of going over time lapses and LR time lapse more specific. Okay, so moving on. One proficient kid asks, what are the best camera settings while shooting a travel video and what lenses? Okay, so this is a bit of a difficult question to answer. I wouldn't say that there's actually any best camera settings in particular for travel video or lenses. It's kind of all about the story that you're trying to portray and the specific shots that you're trying to get. Whenever I'm out traveling or whenever I'm on a shoot, I try and get a variety of different angles, especially of my subjects. So I always try and get a wide, a mid shot and a close up, and then also like an establishing shot. So it really just depends. I have the GH5, which I love. I always shoot pretty much everything in like some sort of slow motion or higher frame rate that will allow me to slow it down in post-production. Lenses, especially with travel, I always suggest having some sort of wide angle lens, because when you're shooting in like a beautiful location, you want to capture as much of the environment as you can. So with a wide lens, with a wide lens, that allows you to capture a good amount of the surrounding environment. So great question. It really just depends on what it is that you're trying to portray with the video that you're making. My good friend Lucas Winkleman, at Lucas Winkleman on Instagram, asks, he has two questions. He says, who are your biggest influences? Top 3. And then the second question is, How do you want your videos, photos, etc. to speak to the people who see them? Great question. Great questions, I should say. Top biggest influences. I'm assuming he's talking about influences in the creative space, so I'm gonna stick with that. 3 people kind of stick out in my head as far as influences go, and one, not so much anymore, just because his style's changed and his personality's changed over time, and so I don't really think his style aligns with the type of content that I want to create anymore. Taylor Cut Films, when I was first getting into creating content, photo and video, his videos were kind of what inspired me, what I wanted my work to kind of culminate to at some point. So his older work really was just second to none. I wanted my work to kind of culminate to at some point. So his older work really was just second to none. And then this is gonna be cliche, but Sam Colder, I mean, the kid kind of, yeah, I say kid, we're the same age, has a large grip on the travel space. And I mean, what makes Sam Colder so good and why everyone tends to copy him is because of his individuality, his creativity, and his storytelling. They're all just fantastic. So, I mean, and then lastly is probably going to be my friend Zach Kravitz. Zach Kravitz is what I would say, a very good fundamental cinematographer. His work is always beautiful. I think that in the travel space, if you look over time at some people's work, it starts, like if you look back at their work 5 years ago, like a lot of the transitions that are used, some of them tend to get old and tend to get stale over time. I think with Zach's work, the way that he shoots his videos, they are completely timeless. So 10, 15 years from now, his videos are gonna look just as beautiful then as they do today.
The world is forever changing, and you play a part in it. So fall in love with the idea of not being what people expect you to be. It's your story, so don't let them narrate it for you.
So those are probably my 3 biggest influences, I would have to say. And the second question that Lucas asks, how do you want your videos and photos, etc., to speak to people who see them? This is a really good question. I would say I want my videos to almost transport you to the place that it was taken over, or have some sort of feeling attached to them. I know a lot of people can't afford to travel. I'm lucky enough, and I've worked hard enough to find a passion and make a career out of it that allows me to travel, which is something that I'm ultimately passionate about. So even if it's just for 1 or 2 minutes of you watching my video or taking a look at my photos, if that can transport you to a place and kind of have like a desk vacation, and that allows you to do that, I think that's fantastic. And if it allows you to just escape if you're in a bad place or anything like that, and it allows you to escape from that environment even just for a short while, and it kind of gives you a bit of happiness, ultimately that's all I could ever ask for. So that's really what I want people to get out of my content. So okay, so Alex asks, what made you start getting into filmmaking and who inspired you? I kind of already answered who inspired me, but that was once I had already gotten into like the more niche area of like travel filmmaking. Initially, I got into filmmaking because of fitness, oddly enough. I watched a ton of fitness YouTube early as like when I was like a senior in high school, and I really didn't even tell anybody because I thought it would be weird to tell people I watched YouTube videos in my free time. Christian Guzman is somebody that I watched. I think I subscribed to his YouTube channel when he had like 15,000 subscribers. Now he has like 900,000. And then once his videos hit a certain level of quality, that I really took an interest in. I'm like, wow, okay, maybe I can do photography or videography. So I actually bought a camera. I think it was my sophomore year of college, and I was awful. I also didn't really try, but I purchased it, I tried it, and I just literally put it in my closet for a year. And then about a year and a half down the road, I brought it back out, tried it again, and really sparked a passion from that point, and just have been kind of going ever since. Okay, Chris Shepard asks, how do I become as cool as you? Sorry, Chris, for you specifically, there's no hope. You'll never be as cool as me, so I'm sorry.
My name is Chris Shepard, and I'm here in Yosemite National Park.
Matt asks, where do you see yourself in 5 years? This is a great question, and honestly, I see myself doing something very, very similar to that I am currently, but hopefully just on a larger scale. So hopefully I will still be working in the travel space, doing a lot of filmmaking and photography, because those are two of my true passions in life, but just hopefully on a much larger scale. So working with bigger clients, tourism boards, travel agencies, that sort of thing. And hopefully the quality of my production will also go up in time. I mean, you always hope to progress as time kind of goes on. Jordan Eisler asks, what's your favorite thing to shoot? Travel, concerts, nature, etc. Travel, 100%. I almost realized I had a passion for traveling before I realized I had a passion for filmmaking itself. And honestly, as far as like a passion goes, they're probably tied hand in hand. And so if no one's ever gotten the opportunity or been able to travel, I implore you to try your absolute hardest to make a trip. Plan it with some friends, with some family. Just go out and create some amazing memories. Travel allows you to get outside your comfort zone, experience different cultures, and it's just amazing. And I've been blessed to be able to have some of those amazing experiences with family and friends. So I just encourage you to try and do as much of it as you can. So Matthias asks, how do you afford traveling, and where does your money come from? So my money they kind of go hand in hand. Actually, in the beginning, when I really started to have an interest in travel, I was paying for a lot of the trips myself. My first big trip I went on with my friend Ryan, we went to Europe for about a month, traveled through like 11 different countries. I paid for all of that myself, but I'm at the point now in my career, and I've worked hard enough to establish myself and to create good enough content to where companies will pay me to come out and to shoot content for their brand or to shoot their products on certain locations. And so that's how I get a lot of my travel now, is shooting content for different brands or agencies. And so that will either cover my travel completely, or I will get paid on top of that to do that. And then additionally, my main source of income is filmmaking. And so I have a lot of clientele based here in St. Louis. So I'll do work while I'm here, based in St. Louis, and then additionally I do my travel work on the side. But I'm hoping to get to the point to where the travel kind of takes over, and then I'm just traveling full time and creating content that way. Okay, so I've gotten a lot of questions on color grading. I've wanted to do a tutorial on color grading for quite a while, and I just haven't gotten around to it. I'll kind of give a brief overview of how I go about coloring. So like I have mentioned before, I shoot in the Lumix GH5, and I shoot in the V-Log profile, which is a log profile. So it's gonna be the flattest image that you can get out of camera. And then when I take it into post, I'll usually add some basic color correction, so adding back some contrast, adding back a bit of saturation. And then I'll use a couple different LUTs, one that I've created. And what's really cool, and a lot of people don't know or don't try, is you can use multiple LUTs on footage. So what I'll do is I'll mix a couple different LUTs depending on what the footage looks like at varying opacities. So sometimes I'll have like 2 or 3 different LUTs at like 15, 30, and maybe even another one at 25% opacity to kind of create the look that I'm trying to portray in my videos. But a tutorial on that will be coming. I apologize about the wait. It's just I haven't really gotten around to it yet, but it is coming eventually. Okay, so I'm sorry, I'm gonna butcher your name. Kalaluka Madula asks, have you traveled outside the US, and if so, where? I have traveled outside the US. So I've been on a cruise to the Bahamas, and I can't remember all the places we went there, but I've also been a good handful of places in Europe, being Germany, Berlin, Germany, Krakow, Poland, Vienna, Austria, where else? Venice, Italy, Barcelona, Spain, London, England, Paris, France, a good portion of like that kind of Central Europe area. I've been to a lot of countries there. I have plans to go so many other places. One place that I currently really want to go is Greece. It's just absolutely beautiful. So I'm hoping to go there soon. I don't know when exactly that's going to be, but hopefully we're going to make that happen relatively soon. Okay, so Devin asks, typical workflow when editing large projects. I might also make an entire video kind of going over my workflow as far as shooting, storage, and then the actual editing process itself and kind of my editing flow. But just to give a basic rundown, basically I'll go out on location. I have a rough shot list of things that I want to achieve. I don't really storyboard or anything like that unless a client asks for that or requires that, but for my own workflow, I typically don't. I just kind of have a framework in mind of what I'm going to achieve. And like I said, a few shots that are pre-planned. Excuse me. So I'll go out, I'll shoot the footage that I want to shoot. Then I'll come home and I'll immediately, as soon as I get home, I will import all of my footage, all of my drone footage, and all of the footage from my camera onto my main hard drive. Once I do that, I take all of the footage and back that up while I'm still working on the project itself. Now, once I finish your client project, I'll usually take the set of files that I'm like done working with, and I'll delete those and only have one set of backups, just because I don't really need two sets of the footage at that point. But while I'm still working on the project themselves, I make sure I always still have two copies of everything, 2 copies minimum. So once I have everything kind of imported, I'll go through and I'll pretty much watch every clip that I take. And thankfully, when I'm planning my shoots, I try not to overshoot anymore, just because it slows down my workflow in post-production. So I'll go through and I'll organize all the clips that I think that are usable, and I'll look for something like a hero shot and something that's gonna be like the clip that I kind of frame the whole video around, and then kind of organize the clips in like my favorite to least favorite. And then that starts to kind of frame the story that I'm trying to tell. And then at that point, I usually try and find music for the project, which is very cumbersome and takes forever. I use Epidemic Sounds. It's like a subscription service for YouTube, and then you can buy licenses for commercial work as well. So I'll scour that for hours on it, usually trying to find a song. At that point, I kind of import everything into my editing software, and then I begin to cut everything up at that point. And as far as editing goes, I do have a sense of flow, and I can go into that in a different video. But editing, and I've talked to other editors as well, and it's, from everyone I've talked to, and myself included, it's very instinctual. So when you're cutting a video, you may not know why you're cutting a certain spot, but like in the big picture, it makes sense. I kind of just cut to the feel of like either the music or the vibe or the flow of the video, and then it usually culminates into the end product, and it works for me. So, I mean, try it out, and that should work for you too. Okay, so Luca asks, what is your advice for up-and-coming generations of photographers and filmmakers? I think I myself am an up-and-coming generation of photographer and filmmaker, so this is kind of hard for me to give advice on because I really have not been doing this all that long. But my advice would be to practice. So that can mean just practice editing, practice your client outreach if you're trying to get business from filmmaking, practice your shooting, practice everything. They say it takes like 8,000 hours to get master something. I don't know that that's necessarily true, but I do know that to perfect your craft, it takes an insane amount of work. And I was able to expedite that process by just literally, there's a 6-month period in my life where I really did nothing else but shooting and editing. And I did suffer a little bit with my social life and other things, and it is what it is, but I'm thankful for that now because it allowed me to progress so much in such a short amount of time. So practice, practice, practice. That's literally the advice that I could give. So Chase Devins asks, what is your dirtiest secret? Wouldn't you like to know? Okay, Arnold Gaia asks, can you talk about the business side of getting your first few recurring clients? Okay, so this is huge, and I am going to and plan on making an entire video about this. So I'll dive a little bit into it now, but I'll save a good portion of kind of the meat of the content for different videos. And the best thing that I could say is practice your social skills as far as business interactions. There are plenty of creatives out there that are extremely talented, and in fact, much more talented than myself as far as filmmaking and photography goes. But I am landing 4 or 5 times more work than them. And that is because I come from an entrepreneurial background. I worked in the financial advising industry for 3 years before this. So I was able to gain really good personable skills and skills that allowed me to establish a base of clientele. And the best thing for keeping recurring clients is making that client experience favorable. And if they enjoy their experience and they enjoyed working with you and they ultimately enjoy their end product, which if you're good and they're coming to you in the first place, it should be good. That's really what's going to keep clients coming back and paying you and continuing to pay you to do work, is the experience that they have. So if you're pleasant with them, if you get deliverables to them on time, if you make sure you keep them updated on everything that's going on with the project itself, then you will get recurring clients, no problem. Just be courteous and be professional, and that's the best thing. I mean, creatives have a tendency to want to feel like they're all cool and that, like, you know, I'm an artist, but if you can be professional and show clientele that you're professional, you're gonna book so much more work. So that's a huge recommendation that I have. Okay, so I did see one other question earlier, but I can't find it now, and it asked when I got into filmmaking, and I edited and posted my first video on January 1st of 2017. And I think you can actually scroll back on my, please don't do it, but you can scroll back on my Instagram and actually see the video there. It's really bad, but that's really the first video that I ever decided to edit and post online. And since then, there's been thousands of videos that I've edited, and a lot of them did not make it to posting just because they were either client projects or it was just me practicing. But yeah, I'm really new. I'm still kind of new to all this. I've only been doing this about 1.5 years so far, but the passion's ever growing, and I just am thankful for all the opportunities that I've gotten. I mean, that should pretty much wrap it up. I think that was the last question that somebody had for me. I hope you enjoyed this Q&A. I hope you got some sort of value out of this. Like I mentioned earlier in the video, there'll be some links below to some of the specific questions that I feel like someone else can answer better than me. And then there are some other specific questions that I want to make other videos going into more detail, specifically about business, and then like specifically about kind of my workflow and then my color grading as well. So those videos are to come, but in the meantime, I hope you guys enjoyed this. If you did make it this far, if you could please hit that like button, that makes a huge difference in helping my channel grow. We're still a little baby channel. Hopefully we're gonna grow to become a larger channel someday. That would mean a ton. If you're not subscribed yet, go ahead and subscribe. And if you wanna follow along with my kind of day-to-day interactions and the photos and stuff that I post on Instagram, there'll be a link for that as well. This is it for me. I hope you guys enjoyed the Q&A. I hope you guys enjoyed my Hawaiian shirt, and I'll see you guys next time.
We were wrong from the start. Guess it could have been good. Now it's not.